හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Wednesday, the 3rd of January 2024. Rupee grind. President Wickremesinghe promises a stronger Lankan rupee if the country stays the financial course despite hardships. CEB wars. The battle between the unions and the energy minister heats up as the unions strike with threats against the new electricity bill. Revenue influx. Sri Lanka Customs decimates its targets for 2023 with record revenue earnings despite import restrictions. VAT anomalies. Minister of Trade Nalin Fernando queries how a 25 rupee increase in diesel after the VAT increase miraculously results in a 250 rupee increase in cement despite it being a VAT excluded item.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
නියම මෝල්ට් සාරය සමග මැලිබන් මෝල්ට් දැන් රුපියල් 750ක් පමණයි.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and a warm welcome to today's edition of AdaDerana's English News. First at 9, this is Jonathan Benedict. Let's take a look at our stories for the evening, starting with our top story right now. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the government expects to strengthen the Sri Lankan rupee's resilience against inflation that may occur due to global events over the next 2 years. Attending an awards ceremony held in Colombo, the president further said that there is no alternative route to stabilize the economy of the country other than the current process, and added that with the recovery of the economy, further relief will be passed on to the general public going forward. The Shilpa Abhimani 2023 Presidential Handicraft Award ceremony was held under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Sirimava Bandaranaike Memorial Exhibition Centre today. The award ceremony is held annually with the aim of preserving, developing and encouraging the outstanding creation of traditional cultural artistry.
අස්ත කර්මාන්තයට ලෝකේ විශාල ඉල්ලුමක් තියෙනවා. පෞගිය 2022 වර්ෂයේ බිලියන 889ක ලෝකේ කාර්ට් මේ හැන්ඩික්‍රාෆ්ට් වලට ඉල්ලුමක් තියෙනවා. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා 2024 2025 වර්ෂවල මේක 1200ක් දක්වා වර්ධනය වෙයි කියලා. ඒ තුල පුරෝකථනය කළ තියෙන ලෝකය. ඒ තුල අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වන්නේ 1 බිලියනයක් මේ සාම්ප්‍රදායික කර්මාන්ත තුලින් අස්ත කර්මාන්තයේ තුලින් අපිට ගෙන්නට ගන්නට හැකියාව ලැබුණා නම් අපි ලබන ලොකු ජයග්‍රහණයක්. අපි දන්නවා මේ කර්මාන්ත කරුවන්ට පෞගිය කාලේ විශාල අර්බුද රාශියක් මුහුණ දෙන්න තිබුණා ඔවුන්ගේ අමුද්‍රව්‍ය සපයා ගැනීමේදී. ඒ සඳහා අපිට හැකියාව ලැබ ඔවුන්ට අවශ්‍ය කරන පාසුකම් අපිට ලබා දෙන්න.
Joining the occasion, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that through the policies the government has adopted, he expects the rupee to strengthen in 2024. He also intimated plans to deploy Navy vessels to the Red Sea to ensure protection against attacks on cargo ships.
අපිට 12ක් මේ වර්ෂය අරගන්න තිබෙනවා දල ජාතික නිෂ්පාදනයේ අවසන් කරන් දෙන්නේ 15%. 15% ආදායම ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් එහෙනම් අපිට ශක්තියක් තියෙනවා ඉදිරියට යන්න. ඉතින් මුදල් මුද්‍රණය කරන්න බැරි නම් බැංකු වලින් ණය ගන්න බැරි නම් අපිට දුන්නේ එකම මාර්ගය අපේ තියෙන ආදායම් වැඩි කරන්න. එතනදී විශේෂයෙන්ම වැට් බඩු වැඩි කරන්න තිබුණා. මේකෙන් වැට් බඩු වලින් ඉවත් වෙලා තියෙන ගණනාවක් අපි වැට් බඩු යටතට ගෙනාවා. ඒකෙන් දැන් අපිට ඕනේ ආදායම ලැබෙනවා. මේ අවුරුද්දට 12%. ඒ නිසා අපේ රුපියල ශක්තිමත් වෙනවා. ඒ දෙක අමාරු එකක්. මේ හැම එක්කෙනාටම ඒ බර දරා ගන්න වෙනවා. ඒත් අපි මේ මාර්ගේ යන්න තියෙනවා. මේ මාර්ගේ යන්නේ නැත්නම් අපිට අනාගතයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් මේ අමාරුකම තියෙන නිසා පුළුවන් සහන දෙන්නයි බැලුවේ. යනකොට තවත් සහන ලබා දෙන්න තියෙනවා. මේ මාර්ගය හැට වෙන එක මාර්ගයක් නැහැ. ඒ ඔක්කොම අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන්. අඩු කරාම කොහොමද ගෙවන්නේ? මුදල් මුද්‍රණය කරන්න තියෙනවා. නැත්නම් බැංකු ණය ගන්න තියෙනවා. ඒක කරොත් අපිට ආධාර හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. සහන දෙනවා කියන්නේ රුපියල බාල්දු කරන එක. සහන මේ විදියට ගියොත් අපිට අවුරුද්ද අවසානයේ රුපියල් ශක්තිමත් වෙනවා. ඊළඟ අවුරුද්දේ ඊටත් වඩා ශක්තිමත් වෙනවා. මේක අමාරුකම් තිබුණා දැන් සමහර අංශවලට කෙටි වාසියක් එනවා. ගිය අවුරුද්දේ සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරය දියුණුවුණා. ඒ නිසා සංචාරක අංශයට දැන් මේ ප්‍රශ්න අඩු වෙනවා. කොහොමවත් මම අකමැති රුපියල මේ අවස්ථාවේදී බාල්දු කරන්න. යුක්‍රේන් යුද්ධය තියෙනවා. ගාසාවල තව යුද්ධ තියෙනවා. ඒ භාණ්ඩවල බඩු මිල වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැනටම රතු මුහුදේ හවුති කණ්ඩායම් නැව් වලට මිසයිල් යවන නිසා ඒ අනේක නවතිලා තියෙනවා. මේ නැව් රතු මුහුදෙන් එන්නේ නැතුව දකුණු අප්‍රිකාව වටේ ගියොත් ඒකෙන්ම බඩු මිල වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒ හවුති වැඩසටහනට විරුද්ධව අපිත් එකඟ වෙලා තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නාවක හමුදාවෙන් නැවක් එවන්න රතු මුහුදට මේව ආරක්ෂා කරන්න. එහෙම නැවක් එවුවහම සති දෙකක් තියන්න රුපියල් මිලියන 250ක් යනවා. අමාරු තැන්වල අපි ඉන්නේ. ඉතින් මම බලන්නේ අපි මෙහෙම මේ වැඩ කටයුතු කරොත් හැම එක්කෙනාටම අනාගතයක් තියෙනවා.
The Ceylon Electricity Board issued a special circular at midnight last night, cancelling the leave of all employees until further notice, following the Gazette notification issued that declared electricity services as essential services. Meanwhile, the trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board launched a 3-day continuous trade union action today against the proposed bill for the restructuring of the Ceylon Electricity Board, with threats to take matters into darker waters if they demand that the proposed electricity bill is passed in Parliament. The Ceylon Electricity Workers Union today launched a 3-day trade union strike against the proposed bill for the restructuring of the Ceylon Electricity Board. This comes following the special circular issued last night, cancelling the leave of all employees of the CEB. In the circular issued by the acting general manager of the state-owned electricity supplier, engineer Dr. Narendra De Silva stated the following Gazette notification published on the 18th of December 2023 under the directives of President Ranil Wickremesinghe declared all services connected to electricity supply as essential services. As a result, the notice of the leave of all CEB employees cancelled with effect from yesterday will be in effect until further notice. Consequently, a large number of electricity employees gathered at the trade union strike held in front of the main office of the Ceylon Electricity Board.
විදුලි බලමාලේ සේවකේ නිවාඩ අවලංගු චක්‍රලේ කෙනෙක් ගැව්වා ආණ්ඩුවේ මොන මර්ධනය ආවත් ඒ මර්ධනයට අපි මුහුණ දෙනවා අපි ඒවා මේ මහා පාරිත උබලගේ අවලං නීති අපි කඩනවා අපි කාංචනට අභියෝග කළා කියනවා අද හෙට අනිද්දා පැවැත්වෙන උද්ඝෝෂණ නොසලකා උබලගේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව ඇතුලේ මේ පනත සම්මත කරන්න උත්සාහ කළොත් අපි එනවා ඔක්කොම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ දොරගොඩට ලංකා විදුලි බලමාලේ සියලු සේවකෝ කැටුව අපි ආණ්ඩුවට කියනවා මේ පනත සම්මත කළා ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
In the meantime, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara stated that the management of the Ceylon Electricity Board has been provided with the necessary instructions to suspend and implement appropriate disciplinary action against any employee who disrupts the services or violates the guidelines of the CEB. In a next message, the Power and Energy Minister added that the proposed reforms of the CEB will be presented to the Parliament with amendments for approval. The Minister further assured that the electricity tariff reduction proposal will be provided to the PUCSL next week. In addition, several parties raised concerns over the proposed bill for the restructuring of the CEB.
වැටුණ රට ගොඩ ගැනීම සඳහා ජාත්‍යන්තර මූල්‍ය අරමුදල සමග ඇති කරගෙන තිබෙන ගිවිසුමත් අය ප්‍රතිවිවගතකරණය සඳහා ඇති කරගෙන තියෙන ගිවිසුමත් අනුව කළ යුතු ප්‍රතිවිවගත කිරීම කරන්නේ නැත්නම් මීට වර්ෂයකට පමණ පෙර මුහුණ දුන්න අත්දැකීමට වඩා ඉතාම නරක අත්දැකීමක් ජනතාවට භුක්ති විඳින්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
The Yuktiya Special Police Operation, which has been initiated to eradicate the distribution of narcotics and underworld activity, arrested a total of 1,182 suspects over the past 24 hours. In addition, among the arrestees of today's special operation were 138 criminals listed by the Police Narcotics Bureau and the Police Special Task Force. As the Yuktiya special operation continued to progress, a special drug bust was carried out last night in the Colombo 2 police jurisdiction. Accordingly, 10 suspects in possession of heroin, methamphetamine, cannabis and some illegal narcotics were arrested by the police. Following a tip received by the Western Province Intelligence Unit, 2 people in possession of 15 grams and 400 milligrams of heroin and 11 grams and 200 milligrams of methamphetamine in the Kadiranavatha and Sampitpura areas in Mattakulya were taken into custody. Among the arrestees were Mohammed Anas, disciple of a notorious underworld figure, Velle Saranga, and a woman known as Kadiranavatha Ishika. Meanwhile, 2 women aged 21 years and 48 years along with a 20-year-old male were arrested by the Police Special Task Force in Biranda, Chennai and Vala, Chennai in the Eastern Province for drug trafficking. The raid further led to the seizure of 980 milligrams of methamphetamine, 40 grams of heroin, 2 mobile phones and 1.2 million rupees in cash, which is suspected to have been earned through drug trafficking. The Yukti operation was further conducted in the Karadiyanaro area in Batiklo. During the past 24 hours, a total of 1,182 suspects have been arrested by the police, of which investigations are being conducted on the detention orders of 44 people. The police further added that among the arrestees were 138 criminals listed by the Police Narcotics Bureau and the Police Special Task Force. Now in some good news, Sri Lanka Customs have declared that it has recorded its highest income in 2023 at 970 billion rupees despite the import restrictions of the country. The previous highest revenue earned by Sri Lanka Customs was recorded in 2018, which was tallied at 923 billion rupees. Issuing a statement, Sri Lanka Customs said that the income has grown by 138% compared to last year's total revenue of 7.8 billion rupees. Issuing a statement, Sri Lanka Customs said that at the beginning of 2023, the Ministry of Finance had set a revenue target of 1,217 billion rupees, which was later revised to 893 billion rupees due to the adverse financial situation in the country and the imposed import restrictions. Despite this, however, the revenue of 970 billion rupees earned by Customs shows a growth of 109% over the revised target and is 80% over the target set at the beginning of the year. In 2022, the revenue target achieved by Customs was 730 billion rupees, and the revenue earned by Customs in that year was 708 billion rupees. Accordingly, compared to 2022, 2023 shows an income growth of about 138%, Customs said. This is after historically imports flowed freely in 2018, where Customs earned 180 billion rupees from car imports alone. However, in 2023, restrictions were placed on many imports and imports had fallen due to the shortage of foreign exchange. In 2023, Customs could only earn 10 billion rupees from the import of cars. In 2018, the total import value was $21.7 billion and in 2023 it had decreased by 28% to $15.6 billion. Further, the quantities of many products were down by 40 to 50% compared to 2018. Minister of Trade and Commerce Nalin Fernando says that the increase of the value-added tax to 18% that was in effect from January 1st onwards cannot be the only reason for the price hike seen in the market. The minister also said that the government will take action to import essential goods as the market will not be able to operate if the government imposes controlled prices on the majority of goods. He also assures the government has taken steps to give some relief on the increased prices in the country by the coming Sinhalese and Tamil New Year due in April of this year.
විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ බදු ගැන කතා කරද්දී කියන්න ඕන සමස්ත භාණ්ඩ මිලවල තියෙන්නේ බදු වල වැඩිවීම විතරක් නෙමෙයි. සීනි අපි රුපියල් 50ක බද්දක් අය කරද්දී සීනි තොග මිල තිබ්බේ 265යි. ඒතකොට අපි හිතුවා හරි 265යි රුපියල් 50ක එකතු වුණාම 315ක් තමයි තොග මිල වෙන්නේ කියලා. අද මිල වෙලා තියෙන්නේ 270යි. ඒතකොට රුපියල් 5කින් විතරයි වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. රුපියල් 50ක බද්දක් හැබැයි රජයට ලැබෙනවා. හැබැයි මිල 270යි. ඉන්දියාව ලුණු අපනයනය කිරීම නවත්තපු නිසා ඒකේ වැඩි වාසිය දැන් ගන්නවා. හැබැයි දැන් ඉන්දියාව ඊළඟ සති දෙක ඇතුළත මේ ලුණු අපනයනය ලිහිල් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා කියලා අපිට ආරංචි ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ඒක උන ගමන් මේ ප්‍රශ්න ඉවර වෙනවා. ඊයේ පැමිණිල්ලක් ආවා සිමෙන්ති කොට්ටය රුපියල් 250කින් වැඩි වෙලා. 250කට වැට් එකක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට වැදිලා නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒක හේතුවක් තියෙනවා ඩීසල් වැඩිවීම. රුපියල් 25ක් ඩීසල් වැඩිවීම සිමෙන්ති කොට්ටයක රුපියල් 250ක් වැඩිවීමට කිසිසේත්ම බලපාන්නේ නැහැ.
ලුණු වල විතරක් නෙමෙයි හැම ක්ෂේත්‍රයකම මාෆියා අති දැවැන්තමාව බිත්තරවලත් අපි හොඳ ආකාරම දැක්කා. මේ වගේ තත්ත්වයන් මැඩපවත්වන්න ඔය ආනයනික කියන කාරණාවට අමතරව වෙළඳ අමාත්‍යාංශයේ විදිහට මොනවද ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන ක්‍රියාකාරකම්
දැන් පාරිභෝගික අධිකාරියට මේ වැඩේ බාර දීලා අල්ලන්න කිව්වොත් අල්ලන්න නම් පාලන මිලක් දාන්න ඕනේ. භාණ්ඩ 30 40කට පාලන මිලක් දාලා රටක් දුවන්න බෑ. ලෝකේ හැම රටක්ම තමන්ගේ ප්‍රමාණය අඩු වුණොත් ආනයනය කරන්න කටයුතු කරනවාමයි.
ඔබතුමා සඳහන් කරා මේ ජනතාවට අප්‍රේල් වගේ වෙනකොට සුබවාදී වෙයි කියලා. ඒක වගකීම යුක්තද ඔබතුමා සඳහන් කරන්නේ?
මෙච්චර කල් කියපු කිසිම දෙයක් වගකීමක් නැතුව කියලා නැහැ. මහා භාණ්ඩාගාරයක් තියෙනවා නම් මහා බැංකුවක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒකට සල්ලි එනවා නම් පිරෙනවා නම් ඒකෙන් සහන දෙන්න පුළුවන් ද බැයිද කියන එක කියන්න බැරි මේ කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවා නම් වෙන මොලේ අමාරුවක්.
Moving into political news, member of the United National Party, Professor Ashu Marasinha, stated that due to the government's fiscal policies adopted last year, the government has been able to make all the payments due for the year for the first time in 25 years. Meanwhile, in other news, independent MP Dayasiri Jayasekara claims that if the Sri Lanka Freedom Party invites him back, he is ready to take the challenge of rebuilding the party. With that, let's take a look at what transpired in the political arena during the day.
2022 සහ 23 අතර සංසන්දනාත්මක විදිහට හොයලා බැලුවොත් 2022 සමස්ත ආදායම තිබුණේ බිලියන 2013යි. අපිට 2023 අපේ ආදායම 3115ක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපිට මේ අවුරුද්දේ හැකියාව ලැබුණා අවුරුදු 25කට පස්සේ රටට ගෙවන්න තියෙන සියලුම ගෙවීම් කරලා දාන්න.
දත්ත පෙන්නලා කියනවා අවුරුදු 20 ගානකට පස්සේ භාණ්ඩාගාරයේ සියලුම බිල් ටික මේ පාර ගෙවන්න පුළුවන් වුණා කියලා. නෑ ඒක හොඳයි. ඒක වරදක් නෑ ඒක හොඳයි. හැබැයි ඔපරේෂන් සක්සස්ෆුල් පේෂන් ඩෙඩ් එහෙම වගේ වැඩක් තමයි මේ වෙන්නේ. ශල්‍ය කර්මය කරපු වෛද්‍යවරයාට කියන්න පුළුවන් ශල්ම කර්මය අතිශයින් සාර්ථකයි. හැබැයි රෝගියා මලා. එතකොට එහෙම දෙයක් වැඩක් නැහැ.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය හිටියොත් තවදුරටත් අනාගතයක් නැහැ කියලා තමයි එතුමා එතනින් ඉවත් වුනේ. ශාන් විජේලාල් මැතිතුමාගේ ආරම්භ වුණා. අනෙක් අය ක්‍රමානුකූලව තැන් තැන් වලට විතැන් වෙනවා. එහෙම නොවෙන්න නම් නැවත මාව පක්ෂයට අරගෙන පක්ෂය ගොඩනගන්න ඉඩ දුන්නොත් මේ පක්ෂය නැවත මං හදන්න පුළුවන් කියලා විශ්වාස කරනවා.
Now, the Ministry of Education has taken measures to establish special examination centres to facilitate students who are in disaster-affected areas for the advanced level examination starting tomorrow. In addition, the respective authorities further introduced the hotlines for the Disaster Management Centre 117 and the hotline for the Department of Examinations 1911 to facilitate this. Further, the Met Department forecasted fairly heavy rains for parts of the country tomorrow. The torrential rains which have ensued in parts of the country for the past few days have left 1,339 people belonging to 498 families in 5 districts severely affected. Per the latest reports of the Disaster Management Centre, Badulla, Monragala, Ratnapura, Kegaul and Trincomalee were among the most affected parts of the country. As such, extreme weather has led to the evacuation of 134 individuals belonging to 51 families in the Attanagala area in the Matale district. The evacuated residents of the area were temporarily moved into the Rathinda Mahalakotua temple. Further, 1,149 persons in 288 families in the Batiklo area remain displaced owing to inclement weather. Additionally, the main road in Paduwankarai in Batiklo was submerged as a result. In the meantime, heavy rainfall further led to the inundation of access roads to several schools in parts of the country. Consequently, a hotline was introduced to the general public to inform of the various hardships faced by the candidates amidst the A-level examination commencing tomorrow. Accordingly, the hotline of the Disaster Management Centre 117 and the hotline of the Department of Examinations 1911 were introduced. The Polonnaruwa Mannampitiya Sinhala Mahavidyala has established a special examination centre for students from areas such as Valikanda, Dimbulagala and Aralagangvilla who cannot travel through the Polonnaruwa Batiklo main road due to the flooding. Authorities have assured that it is possible for such candidates to face the examination in the established special examination centres. In its weather forecast, the Met Department stated that fairly heavy rains are expected in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Gaul and Matra districts after 2 p.m. The department further added that rains can occur in the eastern, central and Uva provinces. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a statement said that the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ali Sabri, contacted the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Myanmar by telephone today to further discuss the issue of Sri Lankan nationals who are currently being held hostage in the Miyawadi area in Myanmar. The statement said that during the telephone conversation, Minister Ali Sabri sought the assistance and urgent intervention of the government of Myanmar in ensuring the release of Sri Lankans immediately. The Foreign Minister also requested his Myanmar counterpart to make every possible effort to ensure the safety and well-being of the Sri Lankan nationals who are being held hostage. Per information available to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 56 Sri Lankan nationals are being illegally held in the Miyawadi area as victims of human trafficking for cybercrimes. The ministry continues to explore all possible avenues to ensure the safety and security of Sri Lankans and seek early repatriation in consultation with the government of Myanmar. Welcome back. The Government Information Department states that the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka has issued the Foreign Air Operator Certificate for Russian Rossiya Airlines to operate specific flights from Moscow to Colombo. The certificate issued to a foreign airplane to operate in Sri Lanka was presented by the Civil Aviation Authority Director General and CEO P.A. Jayakantha to Nikita Dolgov, Head of Operations and Planning for Rossiya Airlines. The authorities said that the airline's capability to maintain safe and efficient flight operations for the benefit of domestic and foreign passengers alike was assessed by civil aviation inspectors. It also added that the CAASL's Aircraft Ground Operations Division conducted a full assessment of its organizational structure and its qualified, experienced and properly trained staff and technical abilities required for operations. Moving on to stocks news, the Colombo Stock Exchange continued its trend in closing higher today, aided by gains in consumer staples and financial stocks. The CSE All-Share Index closed 0.29% higher at 10,714.92 points, while the S&P SL20 ended 0.29% higher at 3,093.23 points. Belstar Information Technologies and LOLC Finance PLC were the top gainers on the CSE All-Share, rising 7.1% and 2.2% respectively. Trading volume on the index rose to 29.8 million shares from 15 million in the previous session. Equity market turnover rose to 768.9 million rupees from 335.6 million rupees in the previous session. The food, beverage and tobacco sector were the top contributor to market turnover today, while the banking sector was the second highest contributor. Foreign investors were net sellers, offloading stocks worth 159.6 million rupees, while domestic investors were net buyers, purchasing shares worth 675 million rupees. We now have Udishan Jonas from Capital Alliance with some thoughts on the current status of the economy of the country in our next segment, Sri Lanka's Economic Outlook.
On economic news this week, both equity and debt markets have been less active for the first 2 days of 2024. However, looking at what happened during the last week of 2023, we saw the average weighted prime lending rate falling further by another 6 basis points. And also, from an inflation perspective, we saw the inflation for the month of December increasing from 3.4% in November to 4% in December as a result of the changes in vegetable prices as well as the change in fuel prices. Going into 2024, with the VAT changes coming into play from the first week of January, we expect inflation in the month of January to hit close to about 6 to 7%, with the impact coming of about 2.5% from the VAT changes, as well as the adverse weather conditions affecting vegetable prices during the month of January. From a government fiscal perspective, the government was able to reach a 3.1 trillion rupee revenue target for the year 2023, which was higher than the expected 2.8 trillion or the revised target of 2.8 trillion. And we saw contributions coming in from both Sri Lanka Customs as well as the Inland Revenue Department on increased tax collections during the months of November and December. Going into 2024, with the current VAT adjustments, we are expecting roughly about 600 billion rupee increment in terms of revenue collections for the government to materialize during the year. However, given the shock the consumers will be seeing due to the VAT increase, we expect temporary slowdown in terms of consumer spending during the first quarter of 2024. However, we feel that part of the inflation impact could be mitigated to a certain extent if the government decides to slash down on electricity tariffs going into the first quarter of 2024, as higher rainfall has resulted in lower cost of production of power generation for the Ceylon Electricity Board. From a currency perspective, we have seen the currency appreciate by about 6 rupees over the last 2 weeks, and this has been as a result of the multilateral dollar inflows coming in from the World Bank, IMF and ADB, which was a cumulative total of about $750 million, which has also resulted in our reserve position improving to about $4 billion by the end of 2024. We don't expect too much depreciation for the month of January, but the market is anticipating the announcement on the external debt restructuring to materialize during the first quarter of 2024. And if that happens, we will see foreign debt repayments on the interest front starting from second quarter of 2024, which might exert some pressure on the currency.
Let's now look at how the rupee exchanged rates against other major currencies as the day progressed. Welcome back. Sri Lanka's tyre manufacturer Siat Kelani Holdings said that it has completed the installation of the high-tension metering rooftop photovoltaic panel solar power plant at its Kelaniya complex manufacturing plant with an investment of over 400 million rupees. That was a challenge. Meanwhile, a leading real estate company in the country, Prime Lands Residencies, announced a change in its director board for the year 2024. With that, let's take a look at corporate news for the day. Sri Lanka's tyre manufacturer Siat Kelani Holdings has completed an investment of 475.97 million rupees in a high-tension metering rooftop photovoltaic panel solar power plant as part of the company's efforts to reduce the carbon footprint of its manufacturing operations at its Kelaniya complex. According to SEAT, the 2.4 megawatt solar power plant installed will produce 59.61 gigawatt hours in its operational period, offsetting about 21% of SEAT's consumption of electricity from the national grid and contributing to a reduction of 42,326 tons of CO2 emissions. Prime Lands Residencies PLC announced Sandamini Pereira as the new executive chairperson of the company's board of directors effective January 1st, 2024, taking over from outgoing chairman Premalal Brahmanage, who stepped down from the role after nearly 3 years of service. Sandamini Pereira, the co-founder of the Prime Group, has served as the executive director of Prime Lands Residencies PLC since 2005, concurrently holding the position of co-chairperson. Apart from her role there, she also holds director positions in several other companies. Haley's Life Sciences, a supplier of analytical, surgical and radiology equipment and consumables in the country, has introduced Tornier Medilas H140 to improve access to urological stone treatment. This technology addresses a pressing societal need in a nation with a high prevalence of kidney patients and a scarcity of advanced treatment facilities. The machine offers safer and faster stone fragmentation by combining the prowess of a laser and morcellator in a single device. It is available at the Teaching Hospital in Anuradhapura and the Teaching Hospital in Kalutara. A bit of breaking news for you. A gazette issued by the Finance Ministry has reduced the current special commodity levy of 65 rupees per kilo on imported rice to 1 rupee per kilo from the 2nd of Jan. For now, this is Jonathan Benedict. Have a great night and a blessed Thursday ahead.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.